So next, I'd like to welcome to the stage Sarah McNabb from Enterprise Ireland. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us today. Could you tell us a bit about yourself and what sparked your interest in technology?
Yeah, thanks, Hayley. Delighted to be here. My name is Sarah McNabb. I am a market advisor for digital technologies for Enterprise Ireland, which is the government agency for trade and innovation of the Irish government. I guess what sparked my interest in the tech industry was it kind of happened by chance. I moved to Amsterdam after I graduated, as I spent a year studying in Rotterdam, and I fell in love with the Netherlands. And here I started working for Enterprise Ireland, and Amsterdam, as you may or may not know, is a real kind of global tech hub. It was actually ranked the #1 country for tech startups last year. I was working on a number of different sectors, everything from life sciences to consumer, to digital media and cyber. And I really fell in love with cybersecurity and digital media. And it was when I was actually at an event I was literally, there was maybe 50 of us in the room, and there was myself and one other woman, and Mary Jo DeLu, who actually ended up kind of becoming a bit of a mentor for me. But we had a really great chat, and she kind of told me to keep persevering, and it's a great industry to be in. So that really kind of sparked my love of tech.
Brilliant. So going back to your mentor, because I know you had a bit of a story behind meeting her. So could you just talk us a little bit more through that, Sarah?
Yeah, so I met Mary at a cybersecurity event in Amsterdam in kind of my third or fourth month of working there. And as you probably know, at these kind of events, it's rarely a lot of females in the room, and this woman was actually kind of the keynote speaker, and she's a lecturer at UvA in Amsterdam. She sits on the board of Women's Tech Network, Coding Girls. And she was just really inspirational. And I kind of got chatting to her afterwards. And, I really didn't expect her to be so engaging and so helpful. And she really kind of took me under her wing. We met up quite a lot. She introduced me to so much of her network. And it really she gave me a really great kind of grounding and base for a career in tech. And I still kind of chat to her now, based in London. And yeah, she really was a key person that helped me kind of build my knowledge of the sector.
Yeah, I think that's a funny thing, isn't it, Sarah? Because we're all in the same boat as women in tech, and you don't realize how much support you get from other women. And we are quite lucky in that sense, because it's so sparse and in between, that, working with mentors and stuff can really help propel you and get you more of a network. So absolutely. Now, you obviously work at Enterprise Ireland. So could you kind of walk me through a day in the life of Sarah at Enterprise Ireland?
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know Enterprise Ireland, as I said, we're the government agency focused on trade and innovation. And quite interestingly, we're actually the largest seed investor globally by number of deals, which means we have access to an incredible pipeline of innovation and tech coming from Ireland. So we invested in 125 startups last year, the vast majority of those being in the tech space. So get to work with some really cool tech companies on a daily basis. I'm based here in our London office, so I work with Irish tech companies from early stage startups to more developed companies on helping them with their UK scaling journey. So I work with companies in cybersecurity, e-commerce, UX, IoT, and connectivity, and I help them secure VC funding, assist them with market research, introduce them to people in market. We also provide direct funding and grants. And then I also spend a lot of time liaising with UK-based market leaders, industry associations, and business leaders all around promoting Ireland's tech capability.
Some really fantastic stuff you do there, Sarah. So could you give us a bit of advice or how Enterprise Ireland help, female startups, and someone as a female who's wanting to start something out, how would they go about doing that?
We actually have a number of initiatives, supports, and grants available that have only kind of come about quite recently. But in 2018, we created this Balance for Better Business. And following that, we've actually created an action plan for women in business that we update yearly. And this is largely driven by, we have an amazing CEO, Julie Cinnamon. She's actually finishing up now. She's been an unbelievable leader of Enterprise Ireland, and she's had a real kind of passion for driving this initiative. So we have an ambition that by 2025, we're going to double our investment in female startups. And we've increased our investment in HBSUs, which is high potential startups, led by women from 7 to 24% in the past 2 years. There's a number of different kind of grants and supports available. So we have a €150,000 fund for female entrepreneurship. We actually have another kind of initiative that helps women return back to the workforce who have, let's say, been out on maternity leave, to get them back into that kind of mid and senior management level roles. Just to give you a stat, Ireland actually is the highest gender pay gap in self-employment in the EU. So we have a number of different funds around kind of getting that self-employment numbers up for females. So yeah, there's a number of different initiatives, but it's really been kind of a focus for us. And I think female entrepreneurship and the Green Initiative are like two of Enterprise Ireland's two kind of goals and kind of key pillars of our strategy for the next couple of years.
Absolutely. I think that's a really exciting space. As if I was a woman, for instance, starting up, Sarah, how would I get in contact with Enterprise Ireland and how would I work through that system?
Yeah, so how it works is Enterprise Ireland, we work with Irish-based companies. So if Irish-based female founders or any founders that are looking to potentially move their headquarters to Ireland,
yeah,
we deal with kind of, they have to have their headquarters in Ireland, and
yeah.
we go through you contact your local enterprise office, and then from that there's a number of different kind of avenues you can follow, whether you go the startup route, whether you go the grant and support route. But yeah, happy to have a chat with anyone after this if they have an interest.
Fantastic. Looks like everyone has to move to Ireland then. So what advice, and going back to kind of your journey and your story, and if you could look back, what kind of advice would you give to other young women starting out? Because I know it's a huge thing to try and dive into technology, and there's all types of different avenues you can obviously go down. But what would be your main kind of point to like getting your confidence up and getting you speaking in meetings, especially when it's mainly at the moment male-based?
Yeah, so I guess my role is kind of there's two kind of levels to it, that I work with female founders. Also, I'm a young woman myself working in the tech industry, and I learned quite quickly that firstly, a lot of the time you're going to be the only woman in the room. I'm still, I'm in my late 20s. I'm probably the same age as a lot of these kind of male CEOs' daughters that I'm meeting with, and I've actually learned quite quickly that I thought that they were looking at my age and looking at me as really young, but it was actually all in my head. And actually, if you've got the ability, you've got the knowledge, they're going to respect you. And another one I think is kind of know your worth. Both, when you're asking for a salary, when you're asking for investment. I think women traditionally generally ask for a lot less money than men. Less than 10% of funding actually goes to female founders, and only 3% of angel investors are women. So I think we really need to have more confidence in ourselves and be ready to kind of ask for more cash. And then lastly, as I kind of alluded to earlier, would be to get a mentor. It's massively helped me in terms of building my confidence, building my network, and generally women are so happy to help other women. And don't be afraid to reach out to someone on LinkedIn, even if you think they're incredibly senior and they're not going to see your message. That's what I thought with Mary, and she's been an amazing resource for me. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sarah. The last thing I would say is, have you got any kind of material that you'd like to share with the audience today, of some of maybe like the podcasts that you listen to that you found beneficial, or that you can take some information from each week?
Yeah, so a favorite podcast of mine is by an Irish economist called David McWilliams. He's brilliant. He runs a weekly podcast, and although he's Irish, it kind of focuses on everything from Brexit to EU politics, Bitcoin, Spotify, and it looks at economics through like a technological, political, and financial lens. And actually, last week's episode, he spoke about that by 2030 there will be more female millionaires than men. So I thought that was pretty apt.
Exciting stuff. No, that's really good, Sarah. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Sarah will be joining us later for the Q&A section. And we've also got a panel session just about to come up, so stay tuned for that.
Thanks, Hayley.